There is a story making the rounds in Kent, a story that sounds almost too good to be true. It's about a local council staring into a financial black hole that somehow found £600,000 to refurbish a private car park for its own senior officials. That's £600,000 for just 8 parking spaces. The exact same time, that very same council, the newly run Kent County Council, was drawing up plans for devastating cuts. We're talking about cuts to services that keep the elderly out of hospitals, cuts to budgets for children with special educational needs, cuts that would hit thousands of the most vulnerable people in the county. It sounds like a story of shocking hypocrisy, of complete warped priorities, but is it true? Well, let's investigate. And what we found reveals a much more complex and, in some ways, a more disturbing reality about who really pays the price when the money runs out. For tens of thousands of people across Kent, the services provided by the council ain't a luxury, they're a lifeline. They can be the difference between living with dignity and falling into crisis. Now just imagine you're one of them. Maybe you're an elderly person who relies on a community group for a daily chat and a little help with your shopping, or a parent with a child with disabilities trying to navigate a labyrinthian system just to get them transport to school. You're told the money has run out, the council is in crisis, tough decisions have been made, services need to be redesigned, which everyone knows is just a gentle word for cut. And then you see the headlines. £600,000 spent renovating a courtyard in Maidstone to create 8 car parking spaces, 6 of them reserved for top councillors. While you're losing your support, they get an exclusive free place to park. It just feels like a kick in the teeth. So let's start with that number, £600,000. It's an astonishing figure for a car park. The story, first reported by The Times, sparked immediate fury. Before the local elections in May 2025, the new administration had promised ruthless focus on value for money. Yet, here they are, just months later, spending over £500,000 on what looks like a perk for themselves. The council's defence came quickly. They claimed the money wasn't for a car park. A spokesperson said a budget of £600,000 was allocated to make the courtyard and the basement beneath it safe. The spending, they insisted, was primarily for structural stability and fire excavation compliance. Apparently the courtyard had been deemed unsafe for cars years ago because of weak foundations. So was it essentially safety work for a luxury car park? The truth seems to be it's both. The work likely needed doing, but the decision right after making the area safe to immediately designate the new spaces for the exclusive free use of senior councillors is where the story turns. It looks particularly bad when, at the same time, the council was floating a proposal to charge its own junior staff £4 a day at work. That plan was later dropped after a backlash, but the hypocrisy of it was laid bare. Create free parking for the top brass while planning to charge the rank and file. To understand why this is so much more than a story about parking, you have to go back to May 2025. A new party took control of the council, ending a long period of Conservative rule. Their message was simple and powerful. Kent County Council was wasteful and drowning in debt. They were here to fix it. They promised to hunt down and eliminate wasteful spending. The pledge was clear: cut the waste, protect essential services, and keep council tax low. But the reality of governing has hit hard. The council is facing a monumental financial crisis with huge overspends in adult social care. So what happens when the promised efficiency savings don't appear? The council has had to find money somewhere else. Their answer has been to raise taxes and cut services. Despite pledging to keep council tax low, they promised a 3.99% increase, and the cuts they're planning ain't trimming the fat, they're cutting to the bone. This is the real story. It's not just about a car park. It's about what the £600,000 could have paid for. It's about the choices this council is making. The council has proposed cutting funding for preventative services across Kent, the very services that help elderly and vulnerable adults who are on the edge of care. These groups provide everything from debt advice to community activities that fight loneliness. They are the definition of preventative care, which, for a small investment, keeps people healthy, independent, and out of far more expensive residential care. Cutting these services doesn't save money in the long run, it just pushes costs down the road. People who lose that support are more likely to get sick, become isolated, and eventually need expensive care packages the council is legally required to provide. And that's just one area. The council's draft budget also proposed cutting 1% from the staff budget in 9 different departments to save an estimated £2.37 million. Which departments are on the list? It includes children's social care and special educational needs. They are planning to freeze contracts with care homes, squeezing the very providers the council relies on and risking a decline in the quality of care. This is a shocking contrast at the heart of this story. While the council found the money for structural work that resulted in a private car park for its leaders, it is simultaneously taking apart the safety net that protects thousands of its most vulnerable citizens. The car park and the cuts ain't happening in a vacuum. They're part of a wider pattern of controversy that has marked the new administration. The leadership has been described as chaotic, with reports of significant infighting and internal disputes that have caused instability within the ruling group. Instead of a laser-like focus on the county's financial crisis, political energy has been spent on divisive issues that has fueled a perception of a council in turmoil. All of this is happening while the social care system, which makes up nearly half of the council's entire budget, is teetering on the brink. So let's go back to where we started. Did Kent's council spend £600,000 on a car park while gutting services for the vulnerable? The answer is yes and no. The money was officially for essential structural repairs, but the outcome was a private, free car park for the new elite at County Hall. And what was the cost? It's the elderly person who might lose the friendly face from their local well-being service. It's the family with a disabled child facing even more uncertainty. It's the care provider being squeezed to the breaking point. The £600,000 car park isn't just a symbol of hypocrisy, it is a symbol of priorities. It shows that when tough decisions had to be made, the council chose to secure a perk for itself while passing the pain on to those least able to bear it. In Kent, the answer to the question of who the council serves seems to be written in tarmac. If you believe councils should prioritise vulnerable people over perks for politicians, then please share this video. The people of Kent deserve accountability. Subscribe for more investigations into what's really happening in the corridors of power, and let us know in the comments what you think about the priorities of Kent County Council.